talking small, meaning 2, 3 employees small, and again, the definition of small kind of varies, but if we're talking about that size small, usually the big question is, how do you position yourself to scale? Like, how do you get to the point, how do you get past that point where it's pretty much, the owner plus a couple of helpers, which is very different than a scaling business. How do we make that jump? And usually, my thought is that we've got to get to a point where we're able to sell reliably and that we have some sort of a sales engine. Otherwise, you're just dealing with the opportunities that kind of fall in your lap. And that's not really a way to grow. So, my big thing for a small MSP is to try and create some sort of a sales engine. If that simply means that the owner dedicates half a day a week or 1 day a week to sales, maybe that's the way we get started. But we've got to come up with a way to start to get opportunities flowing into the business. That's typically the biggest problem to kind of get from a very small MSP to start on that growth pattern. And usually what you see is there's some plateaus as you go. So you've got, those very small MSPs, the 1, 2, 3 person shops, they usually are typically sub $500,000 in revenue. Once you get some sort of a sales engine going, the next plateau is around $1 million. And, to get from 1 million kind of through that plateau, we really have to have some reliable sales. I mean, that's typically that challenge. So it goes from, somebody that's spending some time part-time, usually the owner, to potentially having a dedicated salesperson, somebody that's out really kind of beating the bushes. And then as we grow towards 3 million, right around 3 million, there's another plateau. And what happens at around 3 million is we start to see where the company can no longer do everything brute force, meaning usually sub $3 million companies, the owner and a couple of key employees, they're kind of involved in everything. And we've got to kind of grow past that operationally. We've got to learn to create layers and create processes and really move towards that idea of managing through exception and letting processes kind of drive our hour by hour and day by day kind of work that we do. And then the next plateau is around $5.5, $6 million. And that's where we suddenly realize that we've got to really be a real company with layers of management and some very clear responsibilities with regard to decision making, financials, sales, all of that. And so, a lot of times the complication there is a lot of people have started MSPs and IT companies because they kind of wanted to get away from bureaucracy and all of that. And as you get to be in that $5-6 million area, you realize that you do need some of that bureaucracy. You need some of those layers that you were kind of running away from when you started the company. And then the next, you start to hit some more plateaus up around 10 million, and there's some higher ones, which is typically not where a lot of people are. But there are then some, usually it's cash issues and things as they get bigger. So, I would say the thorniest problem is just making those jumps, depending on what size you are, making those jumps through those different plateaus and sort of reinventing your company as you hit each one.